In this video, I'm going to go over the basics of installing a cam button in the engine, a little bit about retrofit rollers and lifters on the Chevy small block 350, 305. I believe 4.3 is similar also. Retrofit means you can run a roller cam in an older style engine that doesn't have the provisions for the lifters and all that. Now, how do you know if your block is roller or not? Generally, if it's a Vortec engine, it's going to be roller. A lot of blocks, from what I'm gathering, around the late or middle 90s were roller blocks, somewhere around 88, some people have said. Now, the way to tell if the roller block is, you would have this to hold the lifters in. But as you see, there's no holes here. So that spider assembly can't hold that. And these call them dog bones, would hold the roller lifters in place. So we have nothing for that metal bracket to hold in there. And also behind the timing chain would be holes to hold this plate. We don't have that plate. That's a cam retainer plate. And roller lifters, just a little wheel on them that spins. And these actually can be reused, unlike flat tappet cams. So, retrofit lifters, actually racers prefer them, so they'll take, if it's got factory roller lifters, they'll take them out and put these things in. There's just a tie bar between these two, they call them H-bar, and you just stick in. Well, these are not all the way in, but now our thing is to install a cam button. The cam button is used to hold the camshaft in place. A flat tappet cam doesn't need that. It kind of stays in place on its own, but there's, I guess, extra force holding or moving that camshaft in. So next, what you need is, we'll go over here. You need a cam button. There's two different types of cam buttons. There's a plastic one, and there's a roller one, a metal one. Big block, small block, doesn't matter. And if you look at the difference between them, there is actually almost no difference in the height of these two. There is a couple thousandths difference. And then you're going to need, you really don't want to go without this. You can try to get away with it, but this is your engine, is a cam locking plate. Competition Cam makes, different companies make this. I don't have no part number on this one. Here it is. There's a cam locking plate. There's a part number for the nylon bushing. They come in different sizes. And what's nice about these is you can actually grind them down, make them smaller if you have to. These you generally don't want to grind down because you're not going to grind them flat. These are spin around. So now let's go into setting it up. In our case, I got the timing already done. The marks are lined up. The retainer plate's going to go here. And it's going to catch on that little tab from the camshaft, the dowel pin. So I'll show you how we're going to do it. What I'm doing is putting this in the center of there. And I will line this cam retainer plate up there with the dowel pin hole there. And now I'm going to put the bolts in. So let me pause this while I do that. And then this thing, I have to use a longer cam button because I have a double, well, I'm fitting a double row chain and it has nothing to do with it. But I got two-piece timing cover, so I can take the timing cover off with the engine in the car. I won't have to remove the pan. Real easy to do. You just loosen the the engine mount bolts, not the engine mount bolts, oil pan bolts, and slide it in. I had to loosen all but two of them. So now let me put this in and show you how we do it. Okay, now I ratcheted them down. Torque for a small block Chevy for the cam bolts, I was told, was about 20 foot-pounds. These plates are only, and actually everything's only about $5. These plates and all that. And then what you're going to do, I'm not going to lock them in place yet. These, you really need these. These will save your camshaft from falling out your gear. $3 actually in the local store. You bend these tabs to lock in bolts. And these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these are grade 8. Is it 2, 4? 6. Yeah, grade 8. There's 6 of them there. And then the timing gears are there. Now we're going to put the cover on. Make sure we can tighten it down as best we can. Get it nice and snug. I'm just sizing this up right now, so I'm not really going to put all the torque, but enough torque right now. And now we're going to put the cover on. There's a gasket behind this cover, and there's a gasket in front of this cover. Some people say they just get the spacing set for the play of the camshaft without putting on the cover there. They know when it's tight, they're fine. But this is kind of thick. The spacing, from what I hear on a camshaft, the play in the camshaft, is supposed to be 1 to 5 thousandths, which you really can't measure at thousandths easily. So that's almost nothing. So let me pause this while I put the cover on. We're putting on the gasket because I'm going to do it with the gasket. Okay, so we got the cover on. It's almost all the bolts except for one's on there right now. And we're going to check for end play. And I don't think I mentioned it or not, but the cam button goes on the inside. As the inside there, it rubs against there. So the cam button is going to rub against there and hold it in. Really don't want to bend the cover to make it work. I've read some people doing it. Now to check end play, I got a screwdriver that I got tape on, so it won't do any damage. Some people try to do it by the cam lobes. I am not going to do that. There is a distributor gear right there, so I'm going to grab it, and I'm going to see if the camshaft moves. Let's see what I'm doing. Get down distributor. Bear with me on the angle here. I got no play. It's pretty much what you want. You have to adjust it. The freeze plug here controls the camshaft, so if you hit it in a little bit, it'll move the camshaft farther forward. So when I had the other button in here, this thing was going like crazy. It was moving back and forth, and as I showed you in the video, let me get this off the engine, there was not even a 1/4 inch difference in them. So from having a lot of slop to pretty much no slop is what you want. There's people use dial indicators, but my friends I've talked to, they all do it this way. You can also grab a cam lobe if you go behind it or in front of it and try to push the cam in, move the cam. And currently I can't move the cam. I'm not on the lobe, I'm behind it. I think I just got a little teeny play. If I can look back here, I said thousandths of 5 thousandths is nothing you really can easily measure. I'm trying to get to go on there, but I can't, unfortunately. So that is pretty much how to adjust it, how to check for the slack in them, and all that good stuff. And we're just double checking, getting behind the lobe or in front of the lobe. You can move it either way. I think we're dead on the money. Let me pause it. So since the screwdriver barely is moving at all, look at it, it's just moving a little bit behind the cam lobe. So obviously I got a little teeny tiny play. Barely any, which is what you want. There's people who use dial indicators. You can get them at the local tool store. Somehow they take the cover off in the back, freeze plug, measure the end play. Then how do you know how far the cam plug needs to go back in, and you have to measure it all too. So where the point it has to go in. Some of these covers have have holes in the front where you can adjust the cam button. They're solid aluminum. They're about 120 bucks or so, and the cam button's in there. So that's pretty much the basics. Now I just have to tighten the camshaft sprocket on real, torque it down, bend the tabs. And this is pretty much how to do a roller rocker. Reason people use roller rockers and roller lifters and roller cams and all that stuff is to get more horsepower. Supposedly roller cam gives you a better profile, so it runs smoother and gets more power through the bands. And then the roller rockers, less friction, supposedly 5-6 horsepower thereabouts. Double roller chain, it's actually a true roller chain, gives you a couple horsepower difference, not much. Price is right though. And then the roller lifters and camshaft make a big difference. So hopefully it gives you the basics of how to do that. You get an idea, and then you can go from there. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope this gives you a little tips on that. And I'll give you the part numbers again. They're just basic. They're universal. You can get them anywhere through anybody. And then that steel one was just this is a big block. That's the one I used. I had a nylon one that was less than the thickness of the bottom here. Difference. We had a lot of play in the engine. Now when I change the button to one that's just the height of that material there, that much difference, I got no play, so that's perfect. Or just a hair play, which is what you want. And there's no real difference between the nylon and the roller ones. The nylon's going to eventually wear out. The roller ones are probably going to wear the cover out a little bit.